In order to safeguard your tranquility and contentment in old age, there are 5 individuals to whom you should never show kindness. Do you have any idea who should not be treated with kindness? At a certain age, your time, your energy, and your peace are no longer things that can be freely given away to anybody who wants a piece of them. This is true even if you were brought up to be kind to everyone. As you become older, you come to the realization that compassion is not necessarily a token of appreciation. A trap may be set by it. In this world, there are those who thrive on your generosity, your patience, and your silence, and the longer you allow them to enter your life, the more they will steal from you. In the following video, we are going to discuss 5 distinct categories of individuals. It is time for you to quit being kind to elderly people. These individuals are not strangers or acquaintances from afar. People that are frequently seated closest to you include members of your family, neighbors, and even longtime friends. Nevertheless, if you are not attentive, their patterns of conduct might deplete you in ways that you wouldn't even anticipate happening. When you reach the conclusion of this film, you will have a complete understanding of who to watch out for, why their presence causes you to feel exhausted, and how to safeguard your emotional well-being without feeling guilty or apologizing. In light of the fact that your later years are not for repairing others, it is for the sake of safeguarding whatever tranquility you still possess. It's time to get started. To begin, the person who is always taking. The fact that someone simply shows up with their handout is one of the most obvious indications that they no longer deserve your generosity. You are aware of the type. It is never only to find out how they are doing or to have a good laugh when they call. Requesting something, whether it be a favor, a ride, a loan, or your time, is essential, and it appears that they are in constant need of it at this time. Imagine someone like Gloria, who is 71 years old and has always been the one whom everyone in her family turns to for help. In need of a babysitter at the last minute? Dial Gloria's number. Are you looking for someone to watch your dog while you are away? Gloria is not going to refuse. However, as time went on, she started to take notice of something. There was no one to answer the phone when it came time for her own birthday. There was no one who brought her soup or even sent her a message while she was unwell for a week. It dawned on her at that moment. There was no reciprocity in the relationships. It was always she who was the giver, and there was no return of the generosity. It is a peculiar sense of shame that we carry with us whenever we contemplate withdrawing from people like this, particularly if they are members of our own family. We persuade ourselves that it is a positive thing to be needed, that it is selfish to say no, and that perhaps the next time they will realize how much we do. They will notice how much we do. However, here is the reality. If the only time someone values you is when you are helpful to them, then they do not value you at all. They do not consider you to be a person. You provide a service. The more years you have under your belt, the more perilous that threat gets. The reason for this is because your resources, your time, your energy, and even your physical strength are no longer going to be endless. And it would be like pouring water into a cup that has a hole at the bottom if you gave them to someone who had only the intention of taking. You have the right to decline without providing an explanation. It is acceptable for you to establish limits. It is acceptable for you to safeguard the remaining peace and strength that you possess for those individuals who genuinely care about you. In addition, if someone leaves you because you stop saying yes to them, that is the most important piece of information you could possibly need to know. On no occasion were you loved. You were merely a handy choice. It is important to avoid making kindness a burden. It is important to avoid making generosity a chain, because every moment that you offer in these years ought to be one that feeds you back in return. It is important that you contribute. The chronic critic comes in at number 2. Spending time with someone who constantly criticizes your choices, your wardrobe, and your history can lead to a unique form of exhaustion. This fatigue can be attributed to the fact that they are always pointing this out to you. Even if they don't yell or curse, the words that these individuals speak are just as painful, due to the fact that they are administered in low, consistent doses, and they wear you down over the course of time. Think about someone like Raymond, who is 82 years old and goes to see his cousin every Sunday. He provides new bread, makes sure the house is okay, and makes an effort to maintain communication. Additionally, your hair appears to be different each time his cousin discovers something to complain about you. Why did you decide to sell the aged chair? In every situation, you take things far too personally. Raymond initially smiled through it and convinced himself that it was nothing to worry about. But as the years passed, he began to experience feelings of insignificance. He began to question his decisions more, and he lost the thrill that he had once experienced when he walked up to that porch. It is not the words themselves that pose the risk as a result of persistent criticism. It is in the gradual disappearance of your trust in yourself. These individuals disguise their cruel behavior as concern. They claim that they are only being truthful and assisting you in becoming better. In reality, however, what they are doing is undermining your tranquility by making comments one after the other. If you allow that to continue unchecked, you will notice that something within you begins to contract. It is no longer shared. You cease experimenting with new things. In preparation for each and every conversation, you mentally prepare yourself by wondering what they will criticize next. You have earned the right to feel safe in your own skin with the age that you are currently at. The need to be perfect is not necessary. There is no need for you to please. It is not necessary for you to provide an explanation as to why you like the things that you like or why you live the way that you live. It is your responsibility to quit giving someone a front row seat to your life if they consistently leave you feeling incorrect, tiny, or damaged. You owe it to yourself to stop doing this. Just because someone is kind does not indicate that they are open to being abused, regardless of how politely it is wrapped. And there are times when the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to take a step back and tell yourself, I'm done letting you rewrite my story in your voice. I would appreciate it if you could use the second comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Number 3. The Guilt Tripper. There's a tremendous weight that comes from being around someone who understands how to twist every circumstance to make you feel like the villain. They don't yell. They don't argue. They merely look at you a certain way, drop a few carefully selected words, and suddenly you're thinking whether you've done enough, whether you're good enough, whether you've failed them somehow. This category of people is known as guilt trippers, and they have the potential to be among the most taxing individuals to have in your life, particularly as you get older. Consider Margaret, who is 79 years old and lives on her own. She makes an effort to remain involved in the activities of her extended family. Only when she is in need of a favor does her niece call her. And Margaret is met with silence or, even worse, statements such as, I guess I just thought family would be there for me. This occurs even when Margaret says, no, in a gentle manner. This is not a case of Margaret refusing out of spite. She is worn out. She's protecting her time. On the other hand, guilt is unconcerned. It makes its way into her life and remains by her side throughout the evening, muttering that perhaps she is being very self-centered. Those that engage in guilt tripping are notoriously tough to deal with because they frequently use your most admirable traits against you, such as your devotion, empathy, and sense of duty. They make you believe that withdrawing from them is a terrible act, when in reality, it is the only way to protect yourself from being killed. Moreover, over the course of time, their manipulation of emotions can develop into a pattern. To escape the cold shoulder that accompanies whatever boundary you try to set, you are always apologizing, constantly over-explaining, and constantly offering more than you are comfortable with. This is something that is difficult to see until you become aware of the fact that you are engaging in these behaviors. The truth is as follows. Your peace is not something you owe to anyone. Not every refusal needs to be explained to you. It is not necessary for you to give up your comfort in exchange for their temporary approval. Something is not love if it is not possible for someone to love you. Unless you are willing to go to great lengths for them, you are using leverage. You are not a tool. By the way, simply because you are older and have more time on your hands does not mean that you are responsible for the emotional wounds of another person. You are not a doormat with your heart. And you should never have to worry about feeling guilty for expressing what it is that you require. In the future, when someone tries to make you feel guilty about drawing a line, you should see that as a signal to not bend, but rather to take an even more significant step back. Because peace isn't something you ask for. It's something you protect. Not all adversaries reveal their true identity. Some people offer you words of encouragement, smile, and even act as if they are cheering you on. Underneath, however, there is something more that is developing. A contest that is unassuming and unrelenting. These are the competitors who are keeping their identities a secret. People who are not only interested in achieving success, but also want to make sure that you do not shine too brightly in comparison to them. It's possible that you know someone like Helen, who is 76 years old and participated in a local art class after she had put her creative side on hold for many years. She felt anxious yet pleased of herself for taking another step out of her comfort zone. Additionally, her longtime friend Judy came along, stating that she wanted to show her support. Judy, on the other hand, would find subtle ways to undermine her confidence week after week. Your piece is thought-provoking and incredibly daring for someone of your age. Alternatively, I adore the freewheeling manner in which yours seems. I guess technique isn't everything. On the surface, it was welcoming. On the other hand, it undermined Helen's self-assurance to the point where she began to question whether or not she was even a part of that community. Concealed rivals do not engage in direct military conflict. They employ comparison as if it were a scalpel. Discreet, acute, and difficult to track down, there is always the impression that they have a slightly more interesting story, a more exciting trip, or a more significant compliment from someone that you both know. And as long as you are in their presence, you will never feel completely celebrated. It was merely tolerated, or, even worse, diminishing. The problem here isn't just what they say. It's how it makes you shrink. You stop sharing your victories, and you begin to question your own progress. In order to make their light appear brighter, you learn to dim your own. Then again, that is not friendship. This is a form of competition that is disguised as a close relationship. As you get older, you won't have to worry about competing with anyone else. There is no point in wasting your energy on comparisons that are not beneficial to you because you have endured too much, lost too much, and built up too much. You should take a step back if someone in your immediate vicinity is unable to clap when you win or can only clap louder when they have outdone you. The people you spend time with should make you feel like you're surrounded by a warm fire, not a cold scoreboard. If you have true friends, they will encourage you to keep going, lift you up, and celebrate you. They will not cause you to question why you started. Furthermore, the more years you have under your belt, the more valuable that kind of support becomes. I would appreciate it if you could use the 4th comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans now. Number 5. The passive-aggressive manipulator. Some people don't yell, they don't argue, they don't confront. Instead, they perfect the art of quiet, sarcasm, and subtle insults that leave you wondering whether you're overreacting. These are the passive-aggressive manipulators, and they are more dangerous in later age since their behavior might slide beneath your radar while slowly depleting your spirit. Think about someone like Harold, 83. Who's lived in the same neighborhood for decades. His neighbor, Doug, always smiles and waves, but when Harold brings up requiring help with something little, like moving a planter or lifting a large box. Doug smiles and says something like, "Guess you're finally slowing down." Huh? Or I'd offer, "But I've got two knees that still work and I'd prefer to keep them that way." He doesn't deny flatly, he just covers the sting in a jest. And Harold is left standing there, unsure whether he's been insulted or merely rejected. Passive-aggressive folks play by different rules. They escape facing responsibility by saying they didn't mean what they stated. They leave messages unanswered. They cancel arrangements without explanation. And then if you bring it up, they flip the script, criticizing you of being sensitive, dramatic, or difficult. In the long run, this will wear you down. You begin to feel as though you are walking on eggshells in an effort to avoid shocking them. You convince yourself that it is not worth the disturbance. However, it is the case, mainly due to the fact that the longer you continue to be a part of that dynamic, the more you begin to suppress your own requirements in order to maintain a calm that was never truly present in the first place. The state of peace is not a luxury at this point in one's life. It's a prerequisite for me. Anyone who interferes with it by playing emotional games is not someone you should have close to you during this time. There is no requirement for you to react to every slight. You are not required to instruct children on how to behave toward you. Just take a few steps back, clear some space, and restore the peace and quiet that they have been stirring up. And the reason for this is because a grin that is not genuine is nothing more than a disguise. That being said, you have lived for far too long to continue to accept fake kindness. Allow the closing pages of your book to be filled with people who speak what they mean and mean what they say. Anything less than that is considered noise. You too are deserving of better. It is Farden. Lastly, some thoughts. After you have gained an understanding of these 5 categories of individuals, you should take a moment to examine yourself. Are any of them occupying a position in your life that is too close? Are you willing to give your time, your patience, or your energy to individuals who only take, who only tear down, who only distort your good intentions into obligations? The fact of the matter is that the value of your tranquility only increases with the passage of time. You have been responsible for carrying individuals. You have extended more forgiveness than you ought to have. You choose to remain mute in order to avoid provoking a conflict. But there is no need for you to continue doing it. Not any longer. During these years, it is not necessary to perpetuate harmful patterns. They are concerned with getting rid of them. There is a right for you to safeguard your personal space. You have the right to decide who has access to other aspects of your life, including your phone, your heart, your time, and your living room. Just because you are kind does not mean that you should make yourself available to those who deplete you. It does not mean that you should prioritize their comfort over your own sanity. In other words, it means choosing compassion with boundaries and warmth with clarity. And if doing so requires you to part ways with someone who has been a part of your life for a number of years, then so be it. There are times when the most selfless act you can perform is the one you give to yourself by finally expressing your dissatisfaction. Therefore, if there is any portion of today's message that resonated with you, make sure you don't let it pass you by. Give it some thought, and then jot it down. Make the decision to quit giving away bits of yourself to people who never give anything back to any of the things you give them. The reason for this is that your later years are not solely about surviving. Healing, growth, and surrounding yourself with people who truly see you are the topics that are covered in these stories. And the first step in doing so is letting go of those who refused to do so. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. Don't be afraid to share your thoughts with us since we value them and want to hear them. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would like, subscribe, and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. And we hope to see you in the future video.